Well, the music industry lost out on $30 billion in revenue from live concerts last year due to the pandemic, which made large public gatherings impossible in most countries. But 2020 wasn't a total loss for musicians. A new report shows record sales continue to rise thanks to streaming. Paolo Montecillo has the details.
J-Hope, Jimin, Jin, Jungkook, RM, Suga, and V were the undisputed kings of music in 2020. BTS reached the top of Billboard's global rankings a record 3 times with their hit Dynamite. And the South Korean group capped its breakout year with a Grammy nomination for Best Pop Group Performance.
저희도 물론 너무나
We were really excited when we heard the news, obviously. But as you said, the army was more excited than anyone when they heard about the Grammy nomination and everything else.
The army refers to BTS's fans around the world. They helped push the sales of the Map of the Soul 7 album to 4.8 million copies. That's the industry's highest-selling album across digital and physical platforms last year. And it wasn't just BTS that made big bucks. According to a new industry-wide report, global music revenues grew more than 7% to $21.6 billion. Paid streaming subscriptions and ad-supported music grew 20% to more than $13 billion. That more than offset declines in physical sales and performance rights, which refers to the use of music by broadcasters and public venues.
Fueled by record companies' ongoing investments in artists and their careers, along with innovative efforts to help artists bring music to fans in new ways, recorded music revenues grew globally for the 6th consecutive year.
The industry's sustained expansion is already attracting new investments. Warner Music has signed a new licensing agreement with tech giant Tencent for a foothold in the Chinese market, which remains largely untapped because of piracy. China accounts for just 3% of global music streaming revenues. Executives say a successful breakthrough in China would mean an explosion in earnings for the entire industry. Paolo Montecillo, TRT World.
Well, for more on this, let's go to Bob O'Donnell in Foster City, California. He's a technology analyst and the founder of TECH-nalysis Research. He was also the editor of Electronic Musician and Music Technology magazine. Great to have you back with us, Bob. Now, we can talk endlessly about the phenomenon that is BTS, but I want to ask you more about the phenomenon that is streaming, because as the report says, streaming subscription revenues rose nearly 20% during the pandemic to $13.4 billion, while CD and vinyl sales fell to $4.2 billion. Do you think that streaming will become the only way that people consume their music in the future?
I don't think so. And by the way, first of all, thanks for having me back on, Oscar. But look, what we saw with the pandemic is that people really, reattached to music. Music gave people an escape, the opportunity to, break free of all the pressure and tension we've all felt from being cooped in everywhere. And people are really reacting to that. And of course, you've got a variety of high quality streaming service options available around the world now. So there's more choices for people. There's more ways for people to get to their music. And by the way, I will point out, interestingly, within the physical numbers, you talked about the physical sales obviously declined quite a bit, but vinyl was actually up 23.6 or something around those range percent last year. CD sales, of course, plummeted, but vinyl is coming back. And as the parent of two 20-somethings, my kids are really into vinyl again. It's fun because I can pull up my old albums from my youth, and we're playing these albums again. Everybody in the family has their own turntables now, and so there really is an interesting shift. Obviously, most of it is happening through streaming, as you said, but that physical experience of touching an album and flipping it over, and kids are discovering that again.
Yes, and before streaming services came onto the scene, and this is post-CDs, people downloaded their music from services such as iTunes, so people actually owned digital copies of their favourite albums or songs. But this latest report has found that those download sales generated just over $1.2 billion for labels, which is minuscule compared to the revenue earned through streaming. Why is owning music fallen out of favour among so many people?
Well, the thing is, digital ownership, I think, is a harder thing to quantify. Of course, in the whole era of NFTs, that's a separate discussion. But I think in general, the beauty of a streaming service is I get access to whatever song I want, anytime I want. I mean, I can search if there's a particular song I want to hear at a given time, I can simply search for it. So it's not a big deal to get access to essentially everything. So the perceived value of owning a digital download is not that big of a deal because I'm going to have connectivity almost everywhere these days. And therefore, I can get access to whatever music I want at any time. It's just a better value for people to understand. It's easier for people to understand. There's more variety, there's more choices. So it just makes more sense, I think, for most people to, if they're going to get music digitally, to get it that way. Again, it doesn't replace if you want that physical experience, but for most people, it's about getting music digitally, and streaming services just make it that much easier.
Yes, and let's hope the performance rights revenues will rise again once concerts are up and running post the pandemic. Bob O'Donnell, we'll have to leave it there, but thanks again for joining us.